Hello, everyone. Well, welcome to this part of the big conference where you get the chance to think about what a big implementation might look like in your organization and to create a visual model to help you understand, define, and communicate that more effectively. The purpose of the exercise is not to try and find all the answers now. As you've just heard from Becca and from others in this conference, you're probably going to need to involve a lot of other people, and it's going to take more time than we have now. So rather, we just want to get to thinking about how you might try and define the scope and nature of improving integrated governance in your organization, to get you to start thinking and to capture those practical early thoughts about how you might apply BIG, and then be able to take that back to your organization and perhaps use that starting model to develop and explore it with others further. They want to think about who might be involved, who should you talk to, will they support, which parts of your organization have solid governance now, and which don't. Do you have integrated governance? In other words, you have some good governance in this part of the organization, and that is extended and cohesive with the governance in the other parts of the organization. That may be different across units, across functions, across geographies. We need to think about that. And then we want to think about what are the big components, those pieces that we implement in order to get BIG working in an organization. Which of those big components do you have in place currently? You may have some or none. And then think about, if you do have those, to what extent might you need to improve those if you're going to improve integrated governance. And we'd also like you to do an assessment and think about how ready are you for integrated governance? What's the level of maturity across the 14 core principles that underlie integrated governance? So we'll get you to think about that and do a quick assessment on where you feel your organization stands against these 14 items, principles. So having said that, I want to introduce you quickly to the SharpCloud model, the model we want you to use for this. The model we provided here is yours to keep and use within the limits of the free SharpCloud account that you hope you've set up already. If you haven't, then you can please follow the instructions on the slide before this and in the links we've sent you and the blogs we've sent you to work on that now. And once you've uploaded and opened the BIG Readiness Workshop 2 story in SharpCloud, you should see a screen that looks like this. So just move into the screen. That looks like this. And essentially, a SharpCloud story is a database of items that can have multiple categories, different types of items, and each item can have multiple attributes, text, lists, images, numbers, etc. And there are relationships that you can define between items that are also stored in the database. And these relationships also have attributes that you can assign and any type of attribute. And these persist. They're in the database, and as you go from one view to another, they persist in your views automatically. You can select which relationships to show and which ones not. Okay. And just to briefly introduce this before we start the exercise, to give you some familiarity with the SharpCloud tool. On the left, we've got the set of views that you're going to use. So step views 1 to 4, the steps 1 to 4 on the exercises we'll do now. On the right-hand side, we've got a list of icons as well. And the key one here is this one, the inside icon, that opens and closes this guide text on the right-hand side. So you can get rid of that, get more screen space. If you need to look at the instructions more, you can open that again, and you can scroll through with some descriptions in there to help you. Okay. In terms of working with these items, if you hover on an item, put your cursor on it, because you'll see it is highlighted, and you can then drag and drop that item. And if you drop it into a new domain or into a new layer in a view, it will adopt that attribute, change that attribute to reflect this. So in this case, you can see CEO is now shown color and become part of the product services. Back, and it goes back. To edit these, if you right-click, you get a series of options. There's a quick edit option. Here you can see the various attributes, and you have drop-downs to help you decide and assign things, and of course you can type and edit these names. Again, if you right-click here, if you need to create a new item, so we don't have one in the default set here, I suggest you use this duplicate item. It will create a new item with the same name, but add copy on it, and then you can edit this with a quick edit and change the name, etc. Get rid of it now. If you need to delete an item, you've got a delete option down here. When you hover on these items, take a look here, big principles, that's a good example. If you hover on these items, you will get a pop-up screen with more detail. So if you're not sure and haven't seen earlier what this fund change in value generation or prioritized and balanced means, if you hover on it, you'll get a bigger idea of what that means and what good level of capability or readiness would mean, and things that might indicate that you have a not so good level of that. And then, of course, you drag these across to the appropriate level in accordance with the scale set across the bottom. So in this case, it's made partially and adequately. So we feel we do a reasonable job on it, but not complete. And we're doing that across some of our units, but not all of them. Then in this final view, you will see a tray of items here. And this tray exists on all views, but it doesn't show unless there are things in it. And this tray is there for when items don't have any of the values assigned to them. That would mean they can be positioned on the view. So in this case, we've got influence on the horizontal axis, interest on the vertical axis, and these don't have a value. So we can drag and drop them into the right quadrant, and they will automatically be assigned that value. And we can, of course, use this to update their attitude. We get it to update the attitude. Okay. Finally, when you're finished, we would like you to pass this data back to us, and if you do, we will try and consolidate anonymously your data with others to form a kind of a benchmark that you can compare yourself against, and we will send that to you if you send us your data. And we will also provide any easy comments we can that might help you move forward based on what you have done so far. And we understand that might not be complete. Feel free to spend some time working on, then send it to us, or just send it to us as is, and we will give you what guidance we can. To extract it, you go to data and start with items. You need to select all categories. So you get all the data, click on the left, and they will highlight and select everything, go to export and download as CSV. And then you need to go to the relationships as well, select all the data and export that, download as CSV, and then send us your 2 files, please. Okay, good luck on the exercise and thank you very much. There will be 12 minutes allocated for each step and we will step you through those as we go.